Well, welcome to the November 2011 edition of Rtist Revue. It's the end of the month of November. We've just had a lovely Thanksgiving. Hopefully you and yours have done likewise. And we start the madness of Christmas and shopping and all the rest of the stuff. But important thing is everybody gets to be cheerful and have a good time, and more holidays for ye who work. So we're looking forward. So this will be our last show for this year. So we'll do a best of for the December, because our station closes, as you know, the week of December through January. So a little programming note. I don't know who we'll show yet, but we're going to pick a best of and show it to you on December 30 or whatever that Wednesday is. Anyway, enough about that. We're always pleased to bring you new artists, and we've been real fortunate the last few years to be able to get someone in here almost every month. And we're pleased today to introduce to you Miss Seal Bailey. Seal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob, for having me on the show.
Okay, we appreciate it. And let's start with our favorite question. I know you might not have seen the show, is whether you're a native or not.
Well, I consider myself a native because I was moved down here when I was like 3 years old. I mean, three days old from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I was adopted, so
nice.
My parents lived here.
Okay.
And so I just came on down, and I do consider this my...
rightfully so, rightfully so. Now, let's talk a little bit about your art with regard to how did you, we always say, can be tough, but hopefully it's not. How did you get interested in art, and when was that?
Well, I've known ever since I grew up that I was an artist. I mean, it wasn't
You
like...
knew that?
I knew it. And I found a report card back in... when I got older, I found a report card for the second grade.
Okay.
And it said...
You are an artist.
Yeah. Basically it said she needs work in reading, writing, and arithmetic, but she excels in art. So they knew it.
Now, did you inherit this talent from someone in the family, or is it just innate?
Since I have no history of my background...
Right, of your natural parents. But
right. I will say that it skipped a generation, and all of my grandchildren are artists in some form or another.
We hear that a lot, that skipped a generation. Well, that's wonderful, because here on Rtist Revue, we love art of all sorts, and we're pleased to have you. Now, so I think you currently say you live on the North Shore, is that right? Or am I wrong? Your daughter someone lived on the North Shore, is that right?
No, we both live over there.
Okay.
I have 4 children, and one lives on the North Shore with me, and my son lives in Gulfport, Mississippi, and then the other 2 are in Colorado and California.
Okay.
But we live in Mandeville, and she lives a little bit further up toward Folsom.
Well, I was privileged to view and meet Seal at the Poitras Homes annual, I think it's the beginning of November or October, but it's basically a fundraiser for Poitras Home for Christmas, whereby various artists appear with their works for sale, of course, but to help with things. And so it's really a great show. In fact, one or two, I know at least one of our artists that we showcased this year, I think it was Pamela Marquis, was actually at that same exhibit, and she actually had been on the show just a month prior. So she helped convince some of the few. I think we gave out 4 cards, and right now we are glad to see that Seal is the first to be responsive to appear to us. All right, now, in addition to what the folks are going to see on the TV today, where else, let's talk about, first of all, a website and also any physical appearances. What type of website do you have that they can see some, if not all, of your work?
Well, presently, they could go to my blog, which is www.evocativeimagingblogspot.com.
Everybody see that? It's a little longer. She's using a blog instead of a normal website, so it's a little longer in the typing, but evocativeimagingblogspot.com. So you see, that's the only difference, is Evocative Imaging, the name of her firm or her art gallery. So you can see some of these that we're seeing today, and of course more. Now also, she is going to be appearing in another showing, but it's a little far off. When is that again, and where will that be?
It's in the end of March and the beginning of April at Whimsy's, and which is going to be held on Britannia at McGee School. And I'll be there, if not other places before.
I'm not familiar with the title Whimsy. Is that a place or a name of a festival? What is that?
Well, it's a group of artists which really have nothing to do with McGee School.
Mm-hmm.
However, they formed an art group years and years ago, and so it's always held at McGee School, and lots of them, including myself, went to McGee's.
I had a graduate of Jesuit who, for years, I don't know if he's still there or retired like myself, but Timothy Traplin, who's a phenomenal artist, and you may or may not know him. He's done some wonderful things in all kinds of areas, not just typical media, but even floor staining, and a very, very talented young man. Well, not young anymore, unfortunately. He's my age. Anyway, well, we're glad for that. So, but that now, will that be listed in your blog too for someone to remind them, since this is going to be a long way off before that appearance?
Oh, yes. It'll be in my blog, and probably some other things before that will be in my blog, too.
Excellent. That way she can communicate to you all if you want to see, her work right in the flesh. Okay. Well, she was gracious enough to bring us one lanyard. We love the lanyard. We always ask for 14 pieces, and so we have 15 today. So we're going to go ahead and start. Now, her basic division here, and it's not really an equal number, is what she calls her pre-Katrina and her post-Katrina work. And so we're going to take a look at our very first one of the pre-Katrina, and it's a lovely, well, I won't say painting because it's, I believe, a photograph, but it's done so nicely it looks like a painting of, I think that's a red poppy. Let's talk about this lovely flower.
It is a poppy, and it was taken in Vail, Colorado. I had a gallery up there, and I took a lot of local shots for the gallery, and I put some art in it too, paintings. But this is one of my few that I have left from that gallery in Vail. Okay,
and that's, I guess, just in a bed of other plants. It looks like other little flowering wild plants. Is that it? Is that what I'm trying to draw the location of, or is it growing wild by itself? No, it's in a bed. Is that right?
It is in a bed of poppies, and actually, it looks like it's taken in the wild, but it was actually taken on the corner of a busy avenue. So
interesting that there's only one flowering poppy, which can really maybe that's what certainly caught your eye, because of the vibrancy of the red and being the only unique flower of the rest of the thing being identical. Now, she's got this. Now, this is on what medium? And it's framed lovely, and we can talk about size, etc., so that people can get an idea what this is.
Well, it's on canvas, and
so it's a photograph on canvas. Right. How do you apply a photograph to canvas? How does that work?
Well, I work with a printer, and he prints them on and stretches them around the canvas so that they can be hung with or without a
frame.
Right.
Okay. For those who are not familiar with that term, and she didn't use it, when the painting or whatever extends beyond to the sides and the perimeter of the painting, it's called gallery wrapping. And we've talked about it many times on this show, especially in the last maybe 15, 20 years. It's become so prominent among young artists because they really feel, one, the cost of having a frame, and two, you can turn some people off by choosing your frame that they might not like, so then they have the expense of buying another frame. So it's a great way of avoiding a frame altogether, but still making it professional enough looking to be able to hang on the wall. So, and can you give us about a size on this, please?
Yes, it's 16 by 20, and the reason I brought this was because I do a theme throughout a lot of my arts on a touch of red, and this signifies a touch of red. It always pops. Red to me pops everything out. So
definitely.
I love to have a pop of red somewhere in a picture.
A wow factor. Okay, a pop factor. Very good. Well, it certainly does on this one.
Thank you.
And even though it's not almost centered, it's almost centered in the painting. So in the photograph. So you did a fabulous job of getting the dimensions, but it just really looks like a wild scene, like this was just cast by Johnny Appleseed or someone, you know, or a lucky bee or something brought and transplanted it. So really lovely colors.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to our next one. And like I said, we're in this pre-Katrina mode, so we'll talk about that. Let's see what we've got next. I believe is the next one a flower as well, or is it something different? Okay.
Oh, that's a still life that was right outside my log cabin pre-Katrina, because my log cabin is no more.
Now, your log cabin was here?
No, it was in Covington.
Well, I mean, in Louisiana.
Oh, yes. And a tree came right down and destroyed and this was right outside my door. So it has a lot of sentimental value to me, but I didn't arrange it. It is a still life. But I walked out one day and I said, oh, that way the sun was coming through, translucent through the leaves and everything. It just looked so beautiful that I decided I would take the picture. And
so this was a pedestal of some sort? Is that what we're saying?
yes, it was a wrought iron.
Wrought iron pedestal? And then flowers behind it?
Yes, and the sun just... I work with light so much that it's the light that makes the picture for me. So when I see it, I got to take it.
Now, once again, is this a photograph or is this a painting?
This is a photograph too, and it's on the gallery wrapped, like we mentioned,
on canvas, right?
Yes.
Okay, and about the size on this one?
16 by 20.
Okay. Once again, I didn't mention, but if any of these have titles, some people don't title anything. Some people title everything. But since it's if you care to tell us any title, don't hesitate, because we certainly, to some people it adds more meaning. To me, it's not relevant. The piece itself is what's relevant. But anyway, there's some great looking colors here. That beautiful pedestal, the weathering of the work is just magnificent. The blues and the greens, I know there's other shades, but they're just so magnificent. And then to have all the primary colors of the flowers behind it, it really looks like I hate to say it, a staged situation. So that's great that you can find that naturally growing in that beautiful arrangement.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 3. And again, we're talking about pre-Katrina paintings. Although that was pre-Katrina, so you salvaged that one. All right. Now, what about this?
This is
what are we looking at here?
It's a lamp that is in front of a house going down my road to my house pre-Katrina, my little log cabin.
Okay, so this is like an exterior lantern in the center there, is that right?
Exactly, and it's in the road. It's outside the house, and I call it leaving the light burning, because you always have the light burning for someone you love. And the flowers just grew up like that, and I thought, oh, it would make such a pretty picture, and it did.
And so the home is right behind it, or is this like a gate?
It's like a gate, but the home is behind it. That's correct.
I got it. Once again, it's a photograph?
It is a photograph, 16 by 20, again on canvas.
Again on canvas, but this one's wrapped. No, this one's actually framed. Tell us a little bit about the frame.
I just framed it because I was in a show with it, and I needed to hang it. So they required that I put a frame on it.
But how did you choose this particular frame for it, besides size?
I liked the color of the frame, the rusticness that would bring out.
So like a natural wood with some type of silver, like beading? Is that what it is?
Exactly, and just to give it a little interest. But I tried to keep it neutral because I think the outside of the frame matches the stained glass of the lamp itself. So I thought it seemed to blend well to me. And also, Bob, if I put something on canvas, I never do another one again. It's an original. My art.
So even though it's a photograph, you're not making multiple. It's not a poster on canvas.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you for bringing that attention, because I know some folks would have reservations because
that's right.
Especially in today's world where like the Kincaids and stuff like this, or the Guiclets, where you're really taking a commercial piece and just putting a little touch on it and then calling it a custom piece. That's fallacious as far as I'm concerned. So I think that's very good to know, because obviously I would have second thoughts on buying a photograph if I wasn't assured that it's an original as opposed to one of many copies.
Absolutely.
So beautifully done. I think this would be lovely. All right, let's move on a little bit and see what else we have. Again, folks, we're with Mrs. Seal that's spelled C-I-L-E. She told me short for Lucille, but I'm not sure if that's short or she's just making sure of the spelling. Bailey, and
No,
she's
it is short for Lucille.
She's a North Shore resident, a native that came to us a few years ago, and she's been painting since early on, and she said it's been in the genes, and her grandchildren are all turning out to be artists. Isn't that lovely to have that feeling that maybe you were inspirational in that? Okay, let's take a look. We're going to keep looking at some of the work now. This is what I like, moving away from some of the florals and starting to look into not necessarily portraits, but certainly including the human form and shape. This is a lovely piece. Talk about, do we have a title on this one first?
Yes, Waiting to be an Angel.
Waiting to be, that's lovely. May I ask, is the model someone you knew, or is it someone you just happened upon?
Wendy has been a model of mine for an awfully long time, and she was not modeling as an angel in that picture, but
well, angels don't always have to wear clothes, you know.
Right, but I put the wing that you see, the tattered wing that I put on, I put that on by the computer from another picture, and it was actually a photograph I had taken of a hummingbird, a rare white hummingbird, the wing. So.
Well, now, so so both those photographs, the lady herself is a photograph, and then you applied the photograph of the hummingbird on it.
That's correct.
Okay, let's talk about size and matting, and I'm not sure, is matting or framing?
Well, that's roughly a 11 by 14 picture in a larger frame.
It's 11 by 14 in a larger frame, and is that a mat you selected? What's the mat?
The mat is like a gray charcoal, and it's a silver frame, and it sort of went with the antique feeling.
Oh, definitely. I think the silver, is that metal or wood? Wood, huh?
That's wood, yes.
Yeah, I think how did you do to get the photograph so gray? I mean, it's just really a magnificent shade, and then, of course, having the black shadows.
Well, I put another photograph over it of some blended, almost like a glass that made her look like she was old, and into the and I put that over it as a layer. It's a layer.
Cool. Well, you can see, I knew there was an effect, because a normal photograph like that wouldn't have all that background, or wouldn't have that great effect that you have on it. So it's really very, very nice.
Thank you.
And like I said, really brought out with the dark matting and the fabulous frame. Now, folks, as you know, on our show, we always invite callers. So I know it's a Wednesday, so we got everybody home right now, but you know our numbers. They'll always put them up, 486 something, or 483. You better wait till the director will put them up for you, the two phone numbers. So there you go. So if you care to call and speak to myself or Seal, ask her any question about her art, she would love to tell you about it. So don't hesitate. Sometimes I forget to mention about the call-in feature, but don't hesitate to do so. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, let's move on. So we had a lovely semi-nude photograph. So we've still been in photographs right now. And we're still in the pre-K mode. Is that right?
Nope. This is the
we're changing.
Post-Katrina.
Post-Katrina, okay.
Yes. And
this is not a photograph.
No, this is my inner child.
Your inner
because
child.
I painted with my hands and squirt bottles. I did not use a brush at all.
Now, what material are you using here, and on what medium?
Acrylic on canvas.
Acrylic on canvas. So you squirted bottles of paint. Is that what you're saying? The tubes of paint.
Yes.
To give it that wonderful drippage.
Yes. And it took me a year. I could paint from Katrina.
Wow.
And I actually had a whimsy show, and I had to do paintings, so I did like 15 of these right in a row.
Oh, my goodness.
And I called it my inner child because it was just so whimsical, and it was coming out since Katrina.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the subject matter. Can you tell us what you're featuring in the painting?
Well, it's sort of a golden swamp scene.
Okay.
And
because we see the water and the I don't know if there's a little pirogue or something there, or a tire, so it looks like a swamp. Well, go ahead, tell us more.
No, that's right. It's it just shows reflection and movement in the swamp, And with the golden, I chose the gold and red because I'm red. That's my thing. I love red. And it just looks like it's fluid motion. So I had it really drippy because I wanted it to remind people of moss and things like that.
Cool. Very cool. Now, once again, we framed this. Lovely. This is a wooden frame. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Silver with maybe, is that in a green panel? Or maybe, I can't see my colors. Can't tell from the monitor. But anyway, the coloring goes very nice. But this is great because swamps, you never think of brightness. So that's what I like about it, is that even though it looks a little bit like a swamp scene, at the same time, the fabulous sun or the fabulous yellow just really brightens it all to make it, definitely more imaginary than realistic.
Well, this was my first effort toward abstract painting.
Ah, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Never had done that before.
Well, I think you did magnificent. Abstracts are my favorite. I drew out some of the work I'd seen you had done. It really drew me first to you.
Thank you.
And then I was able to see more of the virtual stuff, the realistic stuff. But abstracts, I think, mean so much to so many people and so many different things. That's what I like about it, as opposed to the real world where you just, whether you're replicating something in a different color or a different viewpoint, different lighting. But this is really very, very pretty. And so you said you did about 15 of the same near subject matter for that
they were
Katrina show?
All different subject matters, but it was all done with my hand and squirting.
I got it. Oh, the technique was the same.
The technique was the same.
Good, yeah, okay,
Brilliant
excellent.
colors.
Well, that was great. And that was your first, all of those were in the abstract kind of mode?
All of them were abstract, right?
Fantastic. Okay, well, that's the inner child, really nicely done. Let's move on to another and see what else we got. Because I know we've got some more as we start moving into, as we said, the post-Katrina mode. So what made you move toward abstract? What gave you that idea to try?
It was that inner child coming out in me. I mean, that's what it was. I just, for a year, couldn't paint, and then all of a sudden I just let myself go, and it came out that way.
Fantastic. Now, once again, we've just got a magnificent nude or semi-nude here, and but again, this time when I don't have the photograph. Is that your same model?
No, this is another model.
Okay.
And it's done in oil on board.
On board. What type of board do you use? Do you know?
It was a plywood board.
Okay, just a plywood board. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Because many times I notice plywood for some reason doesn't do as well for a painting, especially something like this where you're trying to get such soft detail and all. It's okay, again, for an abstract or geometric, but when you're really starting to do portraiture or something with a lot of detail, for some reason, I don't think that wood is the most conducive to acceptance of the whether it's oil or acrylic.
You're exactly right.
Am I really? Oh, I'm guessing because I have no, as everyone knows, I have no training or knowledge about art. Okay. Now, this you say is oil, so it's just a beautiful soft touch. And what are we talking about? So we got a lovely gold frame to kind of bring out some of her skin tones. Kind of pensive, she's very pensive in her mode and look. Just beautifully done. I mean, just enough to really emphasize a bare canvas, even though it's not a bare panel. It's just really a lovely, lovely portrait, and like I said, really looks almost like a photograph, but I like it better because of the oil. Again, once again, let's talk about size on this.
I think this was 20 by 24.
Okay, yeah, it's a little taller than some of the ones we've seen before.
Maybe it was 20 by 30.
By 30, lovely. Yeah, I'm partial to the larger, oversized pieces, so I guess that's what drew me to here. Even though the photographs and all are nice, so this is getting to larger pieces, which I always appreciate. I think for some reason I think it requires more work on a larger piece than small, but I really, knowing technical, and it's probably just the opposite. Probably harder to do smaller pieces like miniatures than larger pieces. But in today's world, I think it's, as I've told our audience so many times, that the larger piece of work is so important, and especially in decorating, whether it becomes the wallpaper. One piece on your wall just really blows it up. There's no need for the old days of painting a different color wall or putting wallpaper on it. It stands on its own. So that's the advantage, I think, of having a larger piece, especially if it's something you really enjoy. Okay, let's move on to another one. We are in the post-Katrina mode. we've seen that Cecile Bailey has experimented with some abstracts, and she's moving in. Now here we have a very romantic, kind of a French scene, a French amorous couple. Let's talk about this, please.
Well, it was taken in California, and we were. This couple, I took a photograph of them.
Okay.
They were standing there, and they were waiting for a ferry to come. We were in Sausalito, and the ferry was coming to pick them up, and I noticed them off to the side by themselves, and I thought, oh, it was just, he has the backpack on, and he's leaving her, and so I took the picture, and then I decided I would do a very loose painting of it, you know.
This is definitely one of my favorites. One, again, the size is huge. And so this is done in acrylic, or what do we call oil?
This is done in acrylic.
Acrylic, okay. Mm-hmm. And on canvas, of course, or no?
Yes, it's on canvas.
Okay. And it's a farewell kiss of some lovers in Sausalito. And just, to me, very contemporary. Too many of our amorous scenes are maybe of staid or Victorian folk. This is, a lot more, not because of the youth, but I mean just the vibrancy of it. To me, it looks so contemporary. So it really is nice. And again, this is, I think, one of her larger pieces. So can you give me an idea on size? And then it's gallery wrap. Was that
30 by 30? I'm sorry.
No problem. So it's almost a square, if not a square, and it is gallery wrap. So that means if you can see there easily that the painting continues around the sides, around the perimeter. So it really gives another dimension to it. Of course, like I say, it's just a subject. Normally, I'm not much on the amorous couples because I guess it's everyone to their own taste. But I think this one is done in such a fashion. It's not gearing toward that. It's two people of anyone just crossing together, and just beautifully the vibrancy of her hair really and her face really, just radiating beyond the darkness of the background and his cloak. Is there any title to this, did you say?
You Never Have to Say Goodbye.
Ah, cute. Very cute. Very cute. Okay, Never Have to Say Goodbye. It's very well done. And once again, remember, she's photographed this lovely couple, and then she's taken it and blown it up into a magnificent acrylic painting. So really nice.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see what else we got on store. Again, we're talking to Cecile Bailey, from the North Shore, and she's kind enough to bring in 15 pieces. And let's see what else we got. I know we've got a few more. There's your phone number. If you'd like to call in, please don't hesitate. We love our callers. We always do. And we know there's a lot of people out there watching these because we get a lot of feedback on this show. Okay, here again is another portrait. I call a portrait. Again, a little darker than some of the others. So tell me about this particular one, please, Cecile.
Well, this was a theme photo of time, and
explain that a little bit more when you say a theme photo of time. I'm not sure.
I was in every photograph. Illustrated time of some kind, and in the black stockings picture, she was waiting and getting dressed, waiting for the moment, I guess. But everything was about time in this particular series.
Okay. So again, is this a different model?
Yes, this is a different model, and she's in the next one too. Still the time theme, and it's photographed on canvas also. So
it's a photograph on canvas. Now, is this gallery wrapped, or is this just...
Yes, it's gallery wrapped. It's a 2-inch thick gallery wrap.
Okay, interesting. And I love it because it's different than the others, because now you've added some background. Instead of just having the focus of the person that you're doing it, you also have the bed or the chair that you're also bringing out. So it adds another dimension instead of just being the most important part, and that's why she's a little bit in the shadows, so it lets you explore some of the other background as well. All right, now you say she's in our next, we said the size on this one, or no?
It's 16 by 20.
16 by 20. That seems to be a common thread with you, huh?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, I think you said the next one will have the same model in it and also be on time.
Yes, and she's doing, I call this the 12th of Never.
12th of Never, that's an old...
Yeah, it is. But she has in her hand a watch that she's holding, and it is set at 12 o'clock. And she's laying on a bed just waiting for the 12th of Never.
Okay, this is really magnificent. Now, this is a photograph?
It's a photograph.
Okay.
This was that whole theme on time.
Right, I know you mentioned time. And you say is that the wristwatch on her arm? Where's the wristwatch?
No, she's holding a pocket watch.
Pocket watch, okay, I'm sorry. I can't see it until we get close. There we go.
Right.
Now, what I'm interested in the coloring, because was this a black and white photograph or a color photograph?
No, it was done in color. But I manipulated the color to make it.
I would hope, I didn't think this was the natural colors.
To make it less. I wanted to desaturate it, make it less.
Maybe you need to explain for us what desaturate means.
It means I took some of the color out to make it more uniform. I removed some of the color and to make it more like restful, because she is resting.
Oh, yeah. Very, very placid. But it's interesting, her nightgown, I guess I assume that's a nightgown, is a magnificent light shade of yellow, and it looks like it matches, like on the pillowcase on the left has a little bit of tint, so I don't know if it's just to match the sunlight or it's just for the effect, but it really makes it stand out. And then her magnificent makeup is just, it's not overdone. I mean, this could be like, as far as I'm concerned, like a classic Storyville photograph. Absolutely. It has that same feeling, ambiance, but not in the typical storytelling being black and white, very stark black and white and very crass, very, very stiletto. This is much more, as you say, not only placid but flowing, and so like I say, it's like a comfortable bordello, or maybe a little bit. Although still, the outfit looks like a period outfit as opposed to a brand new. Today they wouldn't even have that much on, I'm sure, in bed, but it looks like a period negligee. So that's what really adds to her face, her makeup, her hair. It just really goes so well, and like I said, just that touch of yellow in the nightgown and repeated on the pillowcases on top of the pillow. Just really is a magnificent. So it really blends in and forms a focus, but also drifts you up to her face.
Thank you.
And again, let's talk about. So this is another photograph on canvas.
Yes, it is, and I created the scenery for all of these pictures. I put them together because it was a theme photograph, and as you pointed out, it did show background and more than just a model picture. So. Right. I had to create all of the sets, so to speak. Excellent.
Well, it shows even more skill because, obviously, you could have just put on any kind of old bed or divan, but the tasteful just arrangement of not only the pillows, and our hand draped down. I mean, I think that is so intriguing with the pocket watch. I don't know if she's waiting for her next customer or for her spouse or friend to arrive, but it's just so relevant. I mean, it just adds a tremendous dimension to it because on its own it would just be magnificent, but putting in that, and I know you said you did it because of the theme, but even if it were unique to itself, I think the idea of putting that reality of the watch into it takes it beyond that serial look that you have. It brings it back to the hardcore reality of this world. So I really think you've done just a beautiful job of selection, of arrangement, and of course, and then photograph and monitoring of it. It really is beautiful.
Thank you very much.
And is that waiting for time or no time? What was it again?
Well, I just called it the 12th of Never.
12th of Never, right? Perfect. For us oldies who know that old song. Huh? Okay, let's go on. We have a few more. We're going a little faster than normal today, folks. We'll have to chit-chat with Seal more without when we finish. But let's go ahead and see what we have next, see if we can spend a little more detail. Now we're back to the foliage. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen much foliage since the beginning. But again, at this point, we're not doing any... It doesn't look like it's a photograph unless... One like the previous one, we've taken a photograph and translated it into some type of media. So let's talk about this. I hope this is not a marijuana plant.
It did look like it, but it's bamboo.
We certainly don't want to be promoting this to our audience. So
it's lucky
please
bamboo.
Tell me it's something else.
Yes, it's lucky bamboo.
I should have known. Lucky bamboo. For those who don't know what lucky bamboo is, you go in any I'll get it, any kind of... Asian restaurant, you'll always see these things growing. It looks like bamboo, the stalk, but then it has this lovely green foliage. And they grow in anything. Most of the time, they're not in soil. They look like just stuck in water or stuck in stones. They're always in some glass, so they show the whole shape. So it's a tradition for the Asians to put that in their restaurants and occupation or business to, again, just like we say, put your first dollar on the wall to generate good luck and success in business. So I'm so glad you cleared that up, that it is the Lucky Leaf bamboo. Now tell me again, now this is not a photograph. Did this come from a photograph or just an image in your mind or what?
It is a photograph.
Oh, it is a photograph.
And it is on canvas, stretched, wrapped around. And I really did nothing to it except to play with the background colors.
Color? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Folks, this is amazing. When you see this, I mean, especially when you can see some of the others that we've talked to, how this definitely looks like something that is a painting as opposed to, not that there's anything wrong with photography, because as people know, we've had trouble getting photographers on, so I'm glad you're a mixed media where you're doing both. But this one really, it would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to believe that this is a photograph. It really looks like a painting. And like you say, you had to adjust because those background colors are nowhere to be found, I don't think, in nature. It looks like a wonderful fog or cloud background, and it's just enough haze to bring out the contrast, the detail of the plant itself. It's so poignant and so dramatic, and it's almost like black and white, but having that darker shade of green, whatever, and I'm sure you have a name for it, but that darker shade of green, that really is, when you really see this plant, the green is probably a lot more vibrant than what you're seeing in here. But the importance of it here is that you want it to be that darker color for contrast to that magnificent yellowish green background. So, anything else about this particular? We need to talk about the size. I don't think we've done that.
It's 16 by 20.
I guess I could have guessed that by now.
Yeah.
And do we have it in a frame or is that gallery wrap?
No, it's gallery wrap.
Gallery wrap. Okay.
And it's, I was going for the minimalist look. I'm with, not too much clutter or anything in it, just
minimalist.
Thank you.
Minimalist.
I was getting tongue-tied there for a minute.
No problem. Well, again, just like that one beautiful... I forgot it was a photograph or something of the semi-nude was strictly she and the thing. This is the same thing, but on the vegetation life instead of having the human life. So you've got it where the main focus of the subject matter is dramatic, and it's really what grabs your attention. But because of the fabulous coloring of the background, that really is what makes it stand out, almost to a 3D effect. Really very, very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, quit thanking me. We're thanking you. We thank you for bringing it into the studio and sharing it with all the folks, because I know they're enjoying seeing many of these things, especially the mystery of how to take a photograph and either change it directly to something else or incorporate it into something that would appear to be something else. Okay, let's go on. And I know we got some abstracts coming again because I know I saw you bringing them in, and those are some of my favorites. Let's see if we're coming upon one. No. This was, to me, Marilyn Monroe. I'm sure it's not.
It is.
Ah, okay.
Correct.
Usually when I guess the stars, it's always wrong.
Yeah.
Tell us about this one because, wow, to me it seems like a great depart, not only because it's a celebrity, but the actual mechanics of this and all. It's just fabulous rendition. Tell us about this, please.
Well, it's a monotype.
Okay, now what is the monotype for those who don't know?
It's ink that you paint on like a piece of acrylic or glass or something, and you transfer that ink onto a wet piece of paper and roll it, and then you get a print from it. Sometimes you can do 2 or 3 prints to make one picture.
So let's go over this slow. So let's say the first thing you did was take ink. Mm-hmm. And you outline the shape of the face, etc., on a piece of glass. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. I'd used a piece of acrylic, right? Okay. And then,
and then do you do the coloring then too, or just strictly the chalk? I mean the inking outline.
Well, in this case, I did everything at one time. And I painted it with the ink, and you never know what you're going to get when you roll it.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. How
you get such
precision? Because I would think that, even though your hand could shake a little bit, or your machine, whatever it is that does the rolling pin, that certainly might not go as smooth as you want it, or one side. So that's just amazing that you got such great detail and clarity. But now, what are what coloring when those acrylics that you're putting on the glass as well to get the coloring?
No, it was ink.
Ink, and all of it, the yellows and all those inks.
And I might have used some acrylic, some special form of acrylic, but I'm not positive. I can't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm just concerned. I don't know how you could put. That's what my concern was. How could you put other than ink? Because it seems like that would be a buildup, and it would really blob. When you actually started rolling, you would lose the ability of defining what your subject would be.
Mm-hmm.
That it would be subject to the vagaries of that material. So that's why I was trying to find out what was color. I didn't know. That's how naive I am. I didn't know inks came in vibrant colors. I thought they only came in the blacks or the blues. So it's very educating to me too. So you can get these other colors in ink as well. Is that what you're saying? So then you put it on the glass, and then you actually roll it to canvas or to paper.
Wet paper.
Wet paper.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it takes the image, and then that's your final image until it dries. Is that right?
Right, because it lifts it off of the
glass.
So
it's no longer on, or just some residues on the glass,
exactly.
but not. I see. So it transfers the whole thing. But now you said sometimes you actually can do more than one rolling, or whatever you call that, transference of the same piece to more than one piece.
Exactly.
What dictates that? Whether they still get stuff on the glass?
Well, if you use the same painting and you roll it a second time, you can get what's called a ghost image. And that's just a smattering of what this is. And that's all you can get out of it.
Excellent. But it's also another feature, giving it another dimension.
Yes, it is.
But you're saying you could use the colors and do another painting. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and then you could do another painting and roll it over your other painting, and you can put like flowers or ferns, and then
additional detail.
And that would lift up, and you would have white underneath it, where you would put the actual fern.
Okay, now is this from a famous photograph of Marilyn that you knew or saw or had, or what's that?
No, actually,
because I have to admit, I've never seen this angle of her, looking like almost underneath her chin. It's all, I don't know if that's deliberate or good photography, but most photographers, she was always level-headed. It might be turned left or right, but never coming from underneath, and that's why it makes it really intriguing to me. So, was it from photographs that you?
No,
somehow
it just actually, as I was painting it on the glass, it just looked like Marilyn. So I called her Marilyn, and then I tried to make her look a little more like Marilyn.
Okay, so you weren't working from any photograph of her?
No, after it kind of looked like Marilyn, I got several, and I kind of composited it.
Continue your work.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. And how did you do? Let's see if we can get back. Can we get a close-up of that face again? Because I want to see some of the colorations that you've done on the facial. I mean, it's not just white. There's some beautiful shadings. I don't know if it's lavenders, or I see some blues. Of course, the yellows that we've seen that are reflected like the hair, but around her cheeks and stuff like that, that pinkish, bluish kind of look. How did you think to use those colors? I mean, unless it was rude, simulating rude, but those colors are just, I think, so dramatic, because it wouldn't be the thing that normally a woman would wear, as real makeup. So how did you think about those particular colors to add to the facial look?
Well, I was really just using a concept of design and color, and something that would blend and complement each other. And when I hung it up, it dripped, and that's why you see it looking like tears coming down. So when it was wet, I took it out of the water, and I let it drip, and some of the tears came down. This
is really phenomenal. Now, have you done this a lot, this particular process with regard to monotyping?
No, I haven't. I would love to do some more.
I don't blame. But, I mean, I don't want you to give up your other work. The other work's fantastic, but I think this is so intriguing, and I know some people specialize in just doing this and nothing else.
Right.
And I just think, but again, here I think you're probably the problem with an artist here is the possibility of loss of control, because depending on the mechanics of your machine or whatever you call these devices, whereas these others you're in total control. It's you, and you can do it the way you want, whether it's oil, acrylic, etc., or photograph. But here you are. There is some chance for that beyond your control. But I like that, and I think because of that, it really that risk really pays off. Now, is this framed, or what do we have this? How do we have this?
It's framed.
Okay.
And
under glass or no?
Under glass.
Okay.
Right.
And what size do we have on this?
It's a smaller print. I think about 11 by
14.
11 by 14
okay.
with a larger mat to make it
now.
stand
What
out.
inspired you to do monotype? Just to be the challenge, or what was the inspiration?
I believe in continuing education.
Evolving as an artist.
I do. I go from one thing to another, and I never quit.
Well, that's great, because too many of us, when we try and spread ourselves thin like that, don't do a good job. But here, I know the folks are agreeing. You've just done a really bang-up job in each of the media you use. Now, have you done? I know I asked you, but have you done any more monotypes, or was this kind of limited to that?
No, I did a whole series of monotypes until my studio that I was doing it in, the lady that had the studio and had the equipment, she isn't doing it anymore for health reasons. So, I just have to find another place.
You were fortunate enough to have a place that had it. You didn't have to go acquire, because I'm sure those things are expensive, and if you're not going to devote a lot of your effort directional to that, then it's probably certainly not cost effective to try and do it. Well, hopefully you'll find another place that you rent or whatever you do that has it, because I think really is lovely. Now, how long ago were those done about? The monotypes, about what years? About
a year or so ago.
So it's still very recent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Someone told me, you don't need a press, just get in your car and drive over it a couple of times, and that'll press it down.
Goodness.
I said, I don't know.
That's a method, but I think that's a little...
I think I'll wait for a press.
If I were you, I think if you really want a talented piece, I think you need the right equipment. That's just arbitration. Although by today's standards, people accept anything, so maybe that'll be best. All right, let's move on, because we do have a few more before the end of the show. As we said, we're in our post-Katrina period, and we're getting near the end of the current situation. So let's see what we have next. I know I said, this one of my abstracts? Mm-hmm. No, not yet, huh?
Yep.
Maybe a semi. Oh, yeah, let's go. We're drawing back, so... Here, let's see what we got going. Would
you like to know the name of it?
You have a name?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
The Flödemouse.
The Flödemouse. Mm-hmm. Now, is that the German opera?
Yes. Well, it's Der Flödemouse, but I just took it as an off-take on it. The Flödemouse. Okay. So,
tell us, for those who've never seen the German opera, what is the German opera about, and how did we translate that here to our piece?
Well, I had the feeling that there was so much symbolism, thank you, to it, and the opera itself had a lot to it to me. So I just kind of thought of it with the mouse's tail coming out and the key. That's what reminded me of it. And I have a lot of spirals, and I have a peace sign with X's and O's, and I have a clock. Well, you probably see more hurricanes or whatever. I don't know.
Well, what caught my eye first, not knowing the name of anything, are the actual cylinders or balls that are actually in the cup shape of the key. To me, they look, especially the one with G, looks more like pool balls from billiards, because they don't have numbers. But it's very intriguing. So I didn't see, I would have never guessed that's what it was until you showed me the actual the mouse's tail and the key, because I was going way off. But let's talk about now, what media is this in?
This is acrylic.
Acrylic, okay.
With a texture underneath it.
Now let's talk about that process. When you start off with a texture, what is a texture first?
Well, it's similar to a plaster of Paris, or something that you can put down and on the canvas, let it dry.
So you paint the whole canvas with the plaster, or portions of it with plaster, or something like that.
Yeah, you can use as much or as little.
And that's going to give it depth and dimension at the place.
Yes.
And then you're coming back with your acrylic paintings.
Yes.
On top.
Yes.
Excellent. And once again, you've got those subtle colors that you had in the portraiture with regard to the light greenish grays, the blues. Is there any reason for that? What brought the color into mind, other than the balls or the circles?
A lot of times it's how I feel.
Okay.
I paint on my feelings, and a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to really end up with. I just kind of let my feelings go, and then it takes shape of something, and I go from that.
Okay. And what size is this again? And is it wrapped or gallery wrapped? It looks like. Huh?
This is gallery wrapped, and it's larger. I think it's 20 by 30.
20 by 30. Okay, these are the ones I like, folks. And again, this is interesting for an abstract because it really looks like it's a traditional thing. It doesn't look like an abstract per se. I hate to say that.
No.
So that's why I call it semi-abstract, because it really looks like you're putting something from the real world there. It's just not as easily definable what it is, And so that's why I like a lot of suspense on it. So very, very nice. Okay, let's move on, because I think we only got about 2 or 3 left, and we're getting near the end of the show. We have Seal Bailey on, folks. Won't you come home, Seal Bailey? And she has, and she stayed, never really left except to visit. So she's bringing from the North Shore a lot of these works for you, and we're going to go over, before she leaves, where y'all can see those again, the website which they're bringing out. But let's go ahead and take a look at our last few pieces, and we'll go from there. There's that website for you in case you want to see more of the detail and work that you've seen, as well as additional pieces, and also find out when she's appearing at that upcoming show, or should something else develop. All right, let's go ahead and see what's our next one. Here we go. Now, this this is truly one of my top favorites, because it's abstract with a lot of color. As we mentioned, the one previously was abstract or semi-abstract, even though it looked real, but it was in a limited number of shades. Here you have a few of those shades. You can find them throughout the painting, but superimposed, as she's bringing us wonderful. She has a real gift of sunlight and those yellows, those use of yellows and the rust or the oranges that really make those almost monotonic shades of the blues and the greens that blend in so well pop. And this one, it almost looks like a painting within a painting. It looks like the smaller version and the larger version superimposed on the larger version. But I know I'm saying too much about it. Tell us, first of all, is there a name? And what do we have here?
There is a name.
Okay.
Thinking Outside the Box.
Wow, perfect.
And you said it correctly. It's like the box and then outside the box. And I have a fixation with numbers. So you see 778 is on there.
Okay.
I don't know why I put 778. I don't know if it's an area code or what, but there was some reason I put 778, and maybe one day I'll find out.
Yeah, you need to explore that, because that's important. And also, again, your use of red, I'm calling it rust because of the shades of the yellow. It mutes the red here. It's not as vibrant as we first saw with the poppy, but it just blends in so beautifully. Now, again, this is on acrylic, all right, on canvas?
It's acrylic, textured acrylic.
Textured acrylic on a canvas.
On a canvas.
And it's gallery wrapped?
Yes.
And what was that size on this one about? There's another big, larger.
Yeah, 24 by 34 or something.
Okay.
24.
All right, let's move on a few more, because I think time's running. All of a sudden, time's catching up with us, as it does on the show. Let's take a look at another one and see what we've got as we near the end of the paintings. Okay. Now here we go back to reality.
Yes.
Maybe tripped out too much for you all, but this is just a beautiful. Now, is this a photograph right up front?
It is a photograph of the first frost.
I'm sorry, say again?
Of the first frost.
First frost.
And it's
perfect.
right around the corner from my house.
Oh, this is near home. I was thinking this might have been in your Colorado or someplace else, because it's beautifully. So you have a little brook or whatever, bayou, whatever they call it over there on the North Shore.
Right.
And frost on. But look at the magnificent foliage, not foliage, like trees in the background, all the different shades, and the vibrant blues plus the reflection. You've just done a magnificent job here.
Thank you.
Again, is this superimposed on canvas? Or?
Yes, it's on canvas, 16 by 20.
16 by 20, one of my common, and then framed in a wood frame. Now, I'm not sure if that's a silver, or gold, or a combo frame.
Well, it has a little gold in it, because I wanted to pick up the gold from the
Of course, and all the trees in the back. You need that yellows and golds. So,
right.
And it's got a little silver beading around the outside. I think that's what it is.
Right.
So that kind of brings in the frost colors of the blue. So you did a good job there.
Thank you.
And so this is just near your home? You were just wandering by one morning?
Well, every day I walk the dog.
Oh, okay.
I walk walk the dog with my camera.
Excellent.
So this was just sitting there waiting for me to take its picture.
So you're taking an ordinary, mundane task, no disrespect to your dog, but turned it into a very creative, fruitful event. Yes. And that's great. So obviously every morning you get another opportunity to see something that the world might not get a chance to look in to express it. Okay, now I think do we have one more? What do we have, Mr.
It's what I'm working on now.
Ah, your current piece. That's right. So, folks, this is really dynamic. This is different, and I want you to really. I would not have believed this was her painting compared to all the other things we've seen. Why don't we go ahead and quickly tell what media is this? It's not. Is this ink? Is this charcoal? What are we talking about?
It's film camera.
Okay.
Now, I haven't used film camera from digital in centuries.
So this is the old type film instead of digital, which some people won't even know what that is, So you took something with film.
I did, and I got an infrared film.
Okay, infrared, okay.
Yes. And I went to a cemetery.
I was going to say, I was thinking, but that's what we're looking at, a cemetery?
A cemetery in California. So this was just taken. I just got back from California.
Okay.
And the crow was sitting on one of the tombstones.
Uh-huh.
And he stayed there for me to take 12 pictures of him moving in all different directions.
So he definitely wanted to do a series.
I think he did. And what infrared does is it takes the green foliage and turns it white. And that's the...
Yeah, because I say California, unless it's way up north, we wouldn't have all this snow that appears to be snow. So what a cool idea. Thank you for explaining that, because I would have never gotten that. I was trying to think, where would they have this much snow? I know they've had irregular weather the last couple of years in California, but to see snow like this, just magnificent. And I tell you, when I first saw it, I didn't see anything that you're explaining. And to me, I thought it was very supernatural. I thought it was almost like the Holocaust, not the Holocaust, but the end of the world, the doomsday, it really looks like Judgment Day almost, with the cemetery, the souls rising up in this big vortex. Yeah. You see how imaginative my mind is, and going up toward the sky. So really loved it, and it's done beautifully, and beautiful again, framed. The silver is a little bit blue or gray to really bring it out. What size is this again?
16 by 20.
Easy.
And I call it the soul catcher.
Oh, cool.
So
I feel better about it.
Yeah, and it really is. It gives you an ethereal kind of just what you said.
Well, I'm glad I'm not, even though with bad eyes, I'm glad I bring out something to some folks. Too many times I think I try, and I don't mean to dissuade the artist because I don't want them to get upset with me, but I just want to show you that pieces mean whatever the eyes, and behold, not necessarily beauty, but whatever you see, you interpret it through your filters. And anyway, folks, enough about that, because we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank Seal Bailey. You've seen her website, which is a blog. Very appreciative of you coming in.
Thank you.
Showing your work. There'll be some more for you to see. As we said, as a programming note, last Wednesday of December will be a best of, and we're going to bring it back. We'll see who we're going to pick for our artists for this year to close us out. So we'll look for you in the art galleries and also in the restaurants. See you next week. Take care.